What's up, everyone? We're here. It's tournament time 2021. I got a great cast with me. I'm Justin Carlucci. This is Times News Tournament Talk, which is what we're officially calling this. So official. It's like we're real. So here we are. We waited 2 years since we've seen a March Madness tournament, and things are exciting here. So I'll go around the horn here and introduce who we have. Emmett McCall, sports editor with the Times News. Emmett, how are you doing?
Doing great, Justin. Glad to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
And we got Brad Hurley, also with the Times News. Brad, how are you? Nice background you got there.
Yeah, excited to see some March Madness, one of my favorite times of the year. So things are getting back to normal here in Pennsylvania. It looks like throughout the country now. So had to put up a little background of when you could actually go to a game and be close to someone. Hopefully you can see that next season.
Definitely. And I had to bring on some people who actually know basketball, unlike us sports writers here. So we have Lehighton basketball coach Trevor Miller. How's it going, Mr. Miller? Good to see you.
Good. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to seeing if anybody has anybody winning other than Gonzaga this year. But we'll see. I think that's what this whole thing is going to be about, if anybody's picking anybody other than Gonzaga.
Absolutely. Pat Crampsie, Panther Valley Boys Hoops program. Good to see you again. I know you and Hurley have both been busy calling some games for TV13, and you guys have seen a lot of stuff, a lot of action, and it's good to see you again. And how excited are you for the tournament again?
Yeah, it is awesome. It's great to have it back. You know, my own boys now are 7 and 10 years old, and they're getting into it, so which makes it very cool. And it's great to see all you guys. Usually I'm in your ear telling you what you're covering wrong about high school hoops. So looking forward to arguing with you guys about college hoops. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. It's good to have you here. Let's throw up this bracket so we can see some stuff that's in front of us. And, you know, I will pretty much just start with some of the obvious stuff. Gonzaga is the #1 overall seed. You guys sent me your Final Four selections, and all of us had them in the Final Four. And there's an article on the Times News that's going to supplement this video. I'm not going to put the winners that we picked in that article. So hopefully people listen to this video and see who we are brilliantly selecting to win this year. But, you know, Gonzaga, you know, they seem chalky. So I'll go around the horn here. I have Emmett first, and then I have Trevor, Brad, and Pat kind of in that order. Talk to me about Gonzaga. Are they the heavy favorite? Do you see them having any trouble, Emmett? And how far do you have the Zags going?
Well, I think they're definitely the heavy favorite. They're in the West Regional seeded first. They've already beaten the 2, 3, and 4 seeds in that region this year pretty handily during the regular season. But one cautionary note about Gonzaga, overall #1 seed, it's been since 2013 that the #1 seed actually went and won the tournament. Anybody have any idea who that was in 2013? Basketball guys?
I don't.
No.
I would say Duke.
Nope.
No.
I think 13 was that was the Butler made the final in 11 and 12. Is that correct? Back to back 11 and 12.
I think so. You're right.
So it would have been the year after Butler made it. Ooh.
Well, I didn't know it off the top of my head, so I had to look it up too. But it was Louisville in 2013 won it, and they were the last #1 overall seed to win it all. So although a lot of us like Gonzaga going pretty far and winning it, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, Trevor, what are your thoughts on Gonzaga? Are they the best team you've seen in quite some time? You know, in terms of the Zags, I think of that Adam Morrison year, didn't work out. Then Michael Jordan drafted him. Didn't work out. That's another topic of conversation. How's the best player of all time such a horrible GM? I don't know. But Gonzaga, are they the real deal, Trevor?
Yeah, Adam Morrison's not here anymore, obviously, but they got some studs. When I look at them, they're probably one of the top defensive teams in this 68 team bracket. They've got Jalen Suggs, who's unbelievably good. They've got probably the best shooter in the country in Corey Kispert. Just a loaded team. And you're right, they're chalky, but they're chalky for a reason, because I think that they are the best team here. But as we also know, in March, anything can happen. So it'll be interesting to see. But they're loaded. Probably one of the most complete teams I've seen in the tournament in a few years. And I'm interested to see what happens with them. But they're good.
Hurley, Gonzaga, what are your thoughts? Do you have them winning? Is that your prediction?
I don't have them winning in the majority of my brackets, but I do have them getting to the championship in a bunch of them. I have them winning a couple in my brackets, but yeah, like Trevor
Brad, you're not confident enough just to play one bracket. You're playing what, 100 brackets to try to get the winner?
No,
here?
I play probably like
a bunch.
six or seven brackets.
That's it, yeah. So you're going to be able to claim the winner on one of them, right? 68 brackets.
I don't know about that. You would think so. No, but I think Gonzaga, I think they have the best draw too. So I think that helps as well. I don't think there's anybody they run into except for possibly Iowa later in that West Division that they have to worry about. I think everybody else that they play, they should be able to cruise past looking at their possible matchups. So I think that helps too. But yeah, they're a really good team. Defensively, really good. They can shoot it. They can get up and down the floor. That's kind of the thing I told Justin about. I haven't been able to watch as much college basketball this year. I mean, I think that a lot of people are in that same boat. A lot of people I talk to are like, this is the least year I've watched college basketball. But yeah, I like teams that can get up and down the floor. I like teams that can play defense in this tournament because you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to get stops. And obviously the way Mark Few coaches, that's something that his team is able to do year in and year out. So I like them to get to the championship. Maybe later on, I like Iowa too. So I think that game could go either way, but I like the Zags to go all the way to the championship game.
Coach Crampsie, I'm not seeing any bumps in the road early for Gonzaga, and I'm looking at even Virginia having some COVID-19 quarantine problems. And the last I heard, and you guys can correct me if I heard differently, but they might not even fly in until Friday and then play Saturday, which is wild. A lot of love on this Ohio team, maybe upsetting Virginia in the first round, but Creighton doesn't really scratch the itch for me. Oklahoma, Missouri, I don't see the winner hanging in with Zaga either. I'm just looking forward here. So what are you projecting Gonzaga to do, Coach Crampsie?
You know what? I agree with you. I look at these regions, and I think obviously Gonzaga, deservingly so. I think they have a great draw in their region. I think Gonzaga has enough firepower that even if one of their guys is off for a night, they could still get a win against a very quality team, which tournament time isn't always the case. I think they have enough offensive firepower that they don't need everybody to be firing on all cylinders. I like them a lot. But with that being said, I think if you want to, nitpick and look for a concern, it would be the fact that they haven't been in a ton of close games, especially recently. So, you can't imagine that to continue in the tournament. You're going to be tested. And, it's very uncommon that a team goes through without having close games. So, if you're looking for a little chink in the armor, maybe that's it. But I agree with their draw. And I agree that they're the overwhelming favorite in the West, and I can't imagine them not coming out of the West.
Disclaimer: the Times News is not responsible for any financial gains or losses that might occur with anybody within the next 6 weeks. I know I'll be investing in some office pools, whatever you want to call. We all do it.
Survivor pools,
Survivor, you name
they're
it.
all out there.
Favored dogs, maybe someone even ends up in Atlantic City and bet some cash, throw some money around. I don't know. Anyway, but in terms of
speaking of that, Justin, what does everybody like in that West Regional? Any particular upset? Is anybody looking at a matchup in that region that could be an upset?
Yeah, good point.
Washington over Kansas. I think Eastern Washington's been they're an experienced team. They've been very strong defensively all year, and I think Kansas isn't. I think Kansas, that 3 seed, might be a little bit more on the brand name. So if I'm going to pick the one that's really out there, that's the one for me.
That's a big one, Pat. I've heard other upsets talked about, but not the 3-14 game there. And another point is Kansas is dealing with COVID concerns as well. Might have a player or two missing. You never know. So I like that.
Yeah, good point. I'll toss it over to you, Trevor, next. I think I'm not totally sold on Creighton. I think UCSB, that classic 12-5. We'll get to the 12-5s. I think a bunch of us might like at least one or two 12-5s after talking to you guys earlier a little bit. So, I'm not sold on Creighton. I think UCSB has a chance. I think Ohio has a chance. It opened up at 10.5 and immediately got bet down to like 8.5 within the first half an hour when Vegas opened the line. So I thought that was interesting. And, Tony Bennett even said he doesn't know who's going to be available. And, they're not going to have a week to physically prepare, which can work in either, one or two ways. And this is a Virginia team who has some losses on its resume to teams that it typically wouldn't have lost to this year either. So interesting there. In terms of strategy, and we'll talk about upsets, and I'll throw it to Trevor and Brad. But if you want some leverage on some pools that you're in, does it make more sense to maybe advance somebody in this bracket over Gonzaga? I mean, typical pools, you get more points for winners the further in the tournament you are. I really do think 40 to 50% of people in these office pools and whatever kind of games you're playing are going to probably take Gonzaga to win, and rightfully so. But just in terms of kind of eliminating half the field, I mean, the beauty of having a pool where you can put in more than one bracket, I guess, is a good way to hedge yourself. But Trevor, I'll kick it to you. What do you see in this region? Any underdogs that you're thinking about?
So this is unique because you have a 5-12 with Creighton and UC Santa Barbara, which I think a lot of people, after watching the Georgetown fighting Patrick Ewing's knock down Creighton quite easily in that conference final. I think a lot of people are jumping on the 12-5 there with UC Santa Barbara. When I look at a lot of people taking Ohio over Virginia, that gives you a UC Santa Barbara, Ohio second round matchup to then go on and face Gonzaga. So we kind of talked a little bit about Gonzaga's what we think is probably one of the weaker portions of this bracket, and I would agree with that. When I look kind of at the bottom of this, I think when I'm looking at it, I know Coach said about Eastern Washington and Kansas, and obviously if that happens, this could blow up quite quickly in this section of the bracket, which I think then Gonzaga pretty much walks to the Elite Eight. But it's one of those that I think you could see a lot of upsets because there's a couple there. But in my opinion, I think this is Gonzaga's to pretty much take quite easily. Iowa's the only team I see giving them a run. With Garza, at least they have somebody inside that can match up. But yeah, I'm taking Gonzaga here.
Hurley, any love for any dogs in this region?
I have UC Santa Barbara going to the Sweet 16 in most of my brackets. I think I like teams that are exciting to watch. They're one of them. But my lock of this thing, besides Gonzaga, is Missouri over Oklahoma. Those 8-9s are tough to pick. I just like Missouri. I think they're a good team. They had a big win over, I believe, Illinois earlier in the year. So I think that shows you the kind of potential they have. So I like that game. If you're worried about that matchup, go with the Tigers. I think they're going to handle the Sooners in that game.
Nice. And Justin, I think the UC Santa Barbara 5-12 game with Creighton, that's my favorite 5-12 upset of the four regions. I like UC Santa Barbara to win that. Really good team up and down the court. And just a shout out to my daughter Madison's boyfriend. Michael is a graduate of UC Santa Barbara, and he told me I got to make sure I mention them in this podcast tonight.
Shout out to Michael. Awesome stuff. Good luck to UCSB. I think that could be a really good game. Let's move over to the other side here. Directly across, we have the South bracket, which hopefully you can see on all of your screens. Just for time purposes, we'll keep on the move here. Baylor's the 1 seed over there. Funny seeing North Carolina as an 8, Wisconsin as a 9, two teams that, powerhouses over the last 10, 20 plus years we're used to seeing really no lower than like a 5. But, two historical programs in an 8-9 battle should be interesting. Nova and Winthrop. I mean, we should probably spend a little bit of time there. Nova's local and they're in. Drexel's also in the tournament. Kudos to them for getting in. They'll have their hands full with Illinois, we'll get to them momentarily. But Villanova Winthrop, I know there's a lot of varying opinions on what's going to happen with Nova in a couple of days. They're missing Gillespie, which could be a big blow. Emmett, let me throw it over to you. Another 5-12, and what's the probability of Winthrop actually coming away with an upset here?
Well, I'll tell you what, I took Villanova simply because everywhere I look, everybody I'm talking to, everybody loves Winthrop. So I figured Nova's a favorite on the point spread. They're favored in the seed line. And do I think they can lose? Yes. But if people are going to treat Nova like an underdog, I'm going to go with Nova.
Okay. All right. Trevor, let me toss it over to you. Nova Winthrop, what are your thoughts here?
So Winthrop's lost one game all year. I believe it was to UNC Asheville. And they are pretty exciting to watch. Kind of interesting. I feel like they're two teams going in the opposite directions. Villanova, since Gillespie's hurt, kind of going downhill, and Winthrop just seems to keep getting better. This is a 5-12 matchup that I'm taking Winthrop in. I don't know. I don't see Nova without Gillespie getting through this one with a really, really good Winthrop team.
Hurley, what are your thoughts? Nova going to the round of 32, or are you a little concerned?
Yeah, I'm concerned, but I can't bet against Jay Wright. I think he's proven himself to be unbelievable coach in this time of year. I think he'll have his guys prepared. I mean, losing Gillespie, a shooter of that caliber, is tough to replace. But yeah, I just got to go with Jay Wright. I think he knows how to get it done. Now, after that, I don't see them making it out of that next round, but I think they can get past Winthrop. They still have some pretty good players on that squad. And like I said, I think Jay Wright can get them ready to roll.
Crampsie, talk to me about Villanova.
Well, first of all, Winthrop scares the heck out of me. I remember leaving school for the tournament about 10 years ago, and Winthrop was matched up with the Irish. And, I think Notre Dame was a 4 seed that year. I think it was 4-13, and Winthrop just drilled them. But with that being said, I agree with Brad a bit there. I think this is going to be a program win for Villanova. They've been there before, done that. Obviously they're without Gillespie, but I think Jay Wright and the rest of the Wildcats, I think they get it done in round 1 against Winthrop.
All right, good deal. I'll just fire something out there, and then general thoughts on this side of the bracket. I'll go around the horn then. I think Purdue is really balanced. Everybody kind of reaches for a 13 maybe to pick one of them, and I think some brackets might have North Texas moving on, but Purdue's one of the more balanced teams in the nation. I don't think they're gonna wow anybody, but I think Purdue goes to the round of 32. The SEC teams are so good this year, and it's such a bizarre thing to say because we're so used to talking about 6 or 7 ACC teams. Duke's not in the tournament is weird. There's no Wake Forest, etc. Kentucky's another powerhouse, not in the tournament. Strange year. Arkansas is very good defensively. I think Colgate has a punter's chance of an upset, though. Let me see here. Colgate playing in that Ivy League. They played conference schedule only. So let me see here. Colgate played Holy Cross and Boston University 4 times each, beat them each 4 times, and then they beat Army 3 times, losing to them once. As a coach, I mean, I've heard there's a lot of coaches on this Zoom and former coaches. I've heard you all say, man, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I mean, Colgate's beat a couple of these teams 4 times. Do any of you have any stock in Colgate beating Arkansas, or is there any other unique view you guys have in this South region? I'll go backwards here. Crampsie, I'll throw it over to you first. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, to be honest, I think it hurts them. The fact that they played, 9 games against only 3 opponents. I think, not seeing some outside opponents coming into the tournament does hurt them. So I think Colgate's, kudos to them. They're a quality team and they look great in the conference tournament, but I don't see them getting past round 1.
Hurley, anything else in this bracket? Any other upsets that are kind of on your mind? And I guess I'll ask everyone, how far do you have Baylor going, the number 1 seed in this region?
I like just to address your first question. I like Arkansas. Arkansas is playing pretty good. I think they won 12 of 13 before they lost in the SEC tournament. So they're playing pretty good, and they have Moses Moody, who I think will be the best player on the court in that game. So I'll take the Razorbacks people are sleeping on them a little bit. I know they haven't been historically great since back in the late 90s, I believe, or mid 90s with the heck, I forget what it was called, chaos defense or whatever they used to play. But I think people are sleeping on them. I like Texas Tech. I know they made a run a couple of years ago to the Final Four. I like them again this year. I have them going to the Sweet 16 in a lot of my brackets, and I'm hoping that North Carolina could beat Wisconsin. And now I have Baylor going pretty far in most of my brackets, but I would not be surprised if you see North Carolina, if they could beat Wisconsin, give Baylor a game. They're playing pretty good right now. They have some quality wins down the stretch. Roy Williams is a good coach, and they're doing it with defense. So don't be surprised if North Carolina throws a scare into Baylor in that next round if they're able to beat Wisconsin.
Trevor, South region, Baylor up top. What are your thoughts here? Anything else on this region?
Yeah, I to go off of what Hurls just said there about UNC. I think UNC, if they can get by Wisconsin, those are two very different teams, Wisconsin and UNC. But I think if UNC can get by them, I think they pose some problems for Baylor. The size and athleticism of UNC's bigs. Baylor's tough. They're a kind of a gritty team. But I personally have Baylor going to the Final Four, matching up with Ohio State in the Elite Eight. But there's some unique matchups here, especially at the bottom portion of this bracket. I think all of the teams that end up getting to the round of 32 there, if you take chalk, it's Texas Tech, Arkansas, Florida, Ohio State. Those are two good games with four good teams. And I think that when you look at the bottom portion of this South region bracket, I think that's probably the most balanced that we've seen in this tournament, and I'm actually excited to see it. But I do have Baylor going to the Final Four here.
Go ahead, Emmett.
And I think based on what everybody's just saying, I think it kind of goes to prove that the South region might be the most open of the four regionals. Brad mentioned Arkansas. You mentioned Purdue. We talked about Baylor. I have Ohio State coming out of this region. I think all four of those teams have a shot to win the region. And you don't want to sleep on North Carolina either. That they don't shoot very well, but I saw them play Notre Dame in the in the ACC tournament, and they made Notre Dame look like a CYO team. They had like 20 offensive rebounds in the first half. I think they're just playing volleyball up there off the board. So I think there's a lot of strong teams in that region, and I think that's good. It's going to be an exciting one.
Crampsie, I didn't get to ask you how far you have Baylor going. Are they one of your Final Fours teams?
They are. I have Texas Tech advancing to the Elite Eight with Baylor. I have Texas Tech and Baylor in the Elite Eight, and then Baylor beating them to get to the Final Four.
I was going to add in, I like Texas Tech. I mean, I don't like the idea of them having to play Arkansas and Ohio State. And Utah State's a pretty tough matchup to begin with. Don't sleep on the Aggies. But Texas Tech, another really balanced team. They don't have a bad loss this year. They beat Texas twice. They beat LSU, and they beat Oklahoma. They have 10 losses, and only 2 were by double figures. One was against Baylor, and the other was against Houston, who is a powerhouse this year too. So I like Texas Tech, and I think if you're looking for a 5 or a 6 to make a run, I think they might give you the best chance. And definitely a contrarian look for your brackets if you advance Texas Tech a little bit there. So I like that call a lot, Coach Crampsie. All right, let's move on here. We got 2 more regions to cover, and we'll do our best to get through them in a timely manner. Michigan is the one in the East. Obviously, they're battling some injury issues of their own, which is pretty sad because when they're healthy, they're fun to watch. Nice 8-9 game there. LSU and the Bonnies. Everybody loves the Bonnies when they get in. LSU is a hell of a team, though. They had a good run in the SEC tournament. They have 2 or 3 guys that are capable to kind of score at will. And, of course, the 5-12, which I want to spend some time on, Colorado, Georgetown. But there's a lot of talent in this bracket, too. You got Michigan State as a damn playing game. This is just peak 2020, 2021 stuff, right? Like Michigan State playing in a pigtail. So, and, of course, at the bottom, you have Bama, you have Texas. So this is going to be a fun region, I think. And we'll start over with you, Emmett. What are your thoughts on this region, and what were some tough decisions? Who do you have going the furthest?
I think you're right. I think it's an interesting region. Michigan State, 22nd straight year in the tournament, barely get in. They're in the play-in game. I don't like Michigan to go all the way. I kind of like the bottom of that bracket. I like Alabama. I like Texas, and I actually like Florida State a little bit too. And in my bracket, I have Florida State knocking off Michigan in the round. I guess that would be the Elite Eight round, or maybe another round of 16. I guess that is. They're the ACC team that I think has the best chance of making any noise in the tournament. But I have Alabama eventually winning the region, beating Florida State in the regional final. You've been talking up the SEC a little bit, Justin, and I think it was strong this year, and I think Alabama is the team that's going to come out of there.
Nice. All right, Coach Miller, you're up.
Yeah, so I think if Michigan's healthy, I think they're certainly the best team in this region, but we just don't know, and that's kind of the hard part with this year. When I look at this, again, this is a very, very solid bracket. My biggest key to this bracket is I have Texas and Alabama in the Sweet 16. Texas is a team that I really like, very long, very athletic, have very good guard play. And then you have Alabama, who obviously, is very good, have one of the best players in the country. And I think that honestly, between the Texas-Alabama game, I think that's a game that could decide who goes to the Final Four. I have Alabama getting through that, getting to the Final Four. And I do still have faith in Michigan. I like what Juwan Howard's done there. And I have them beating Florida State and then losing to Alabama in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, this is a wild bracket. Hurley, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think Michigan, if they get going early, get confidence early without Livers in, that they could really do some damage. That's a dangerous matchup, though, in the round of 32. If LSU is able to take down the Bonnies, they got some scorers and obviously one of the best scorers in the country, and it's going to be a high draft pick, LSU. So, I mean, they got some players. They all score. But I'm kind of with everybody else, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing about Alabama. They have Herbert Jones as Trevor said, I think he was SEC Defensive Player of the Year. They play defense and they shoot threes, and that's what you got to do to win in this tournament. Is you got to be able to play defense and make threes.
Pretty much in all levels of basketball right now. Yeah,
I know, but more so in the tournament. You can still stall it in high school and win, as we've seen in districts this year at some points. I think that Texas-Alabama game is going to be great if they're both able to advance there. But I have Michigan going to I have Michigan, I have Alabama, and I have Texas as my three teams that I think could get to the Final Four, the best chance to get to the Final Four out of all the teams in that bracket.
Coach Crampsie, you're the only one out of us that sent me Michigan as your Final Four selection from this region, right? So let me hear it.
Well, I was waiting for Hurley to get done with his list of how many teams that get to the Final Four out of the East. Why don't you just tell us not going to make it? I'm not saying Mary's ain't going to make it.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Everybody asked me to be in their bracket, Pat. I'm a popular person.
Yeah, you know what? I think this region's very, very interesting. I think it's going to be super entertaining. I think anything can happen. As we're all kind of all over the place on this. I like Texas a lot. I know everybody's all over Bama, but I like UConn as well. I think they're playing really good ball. But anyway, Michigan, I think it's gotten to the point where it's almost like coming back where people are a little too down on them right now. And, the one thing that Michigan has going for them right now, they got some swagger. I think they're super confident, and I think they're completely unfazed. And, I just think they're ready to rock and roll. So I know they got some injuries. I know they got some issues, but I do think that they come out of that bracket. I think they beat Texas in the Elite to get to the Final Four.
I have Texas in my Final Four. I don't love it. I don't love it. I like it. There's a lot of talent in this bracket. Matt Coleman has had a really good tournament. Jericho Sims, the monster. I will say this: Abilene Christian has the highest defensive turnover percentage in the country. So Then again, there's probably nobody good on their schedule. No offense, but at the same time, it's still pretty impressive, and maybe their defensive guard play could turn up the heat a little bit. And there's another tricky 14 seed where there isn't a lot of love outside of Ohio getting some buzz right now over Virginia potentially. Are they 14 or 13 or 13?
That's a 13, yeah.
13. So yeah, not a ton on the 14s, but you never know. Punter's chance there. So we got to talk about this Colorado Georgetown matchup quick before we move on, because I feel like Georgetown is probably the biggest darling of this tournament. They're playing great basketball. They earned their way in. They went right through tournament championship week. The whole narrative where nobody knows who Patrick Ewing is in New York anymore, I thought was pretty funny. And I don't know, maybe his players fed off of it a little bit. But anyway, Colorado's a pretty damn good basketball team in their own right. So I feel like a lot of people are going to take Georgetown, rightfully so, playing good basketball. Then again, they have a couple of days off now, right? So maybe, I don't know, does that halt momentum at all? I don't know. Don't write off the book, man.
Justin, a little note about Georgetown. They hadn't won back-to-back games all season until the Big East tournament. They hadn't won 2 games in a row. So, they got hot for the Big East tournament. Does it carry over? I guess that's the question.
Well, tell me more about it. Emmett McCall coming prepared for this.
I wrote down all these little notes, and I'm trying to get them all in here, Justin. So, now somebody else can take it. What do you guys think? Is Georgetown, was it just a magical week, or can they continue it in the NCAA tourney?
I don't think so.
Not on none of your 10 brackets, Brad? You don't have them winning?
I have 6 so far.
Anybody think Georgetown wins this?
Yeah. What do you think, Trevor?
I have Colorado here. I think Georgetown's the sexy pick because of the week that they had the Big East tournament. But Colorado is very methodical. They run their sets. They probably have one of the top point guards in the country with Wright, Kinley Wright, I think his first name is. But they're a solid basketball team. Georgetown, obviously, you saw some teams, if you remember the Kemba Walker year with UConn, where they kind of caught fire and took that right into the tournament. So you always have to be prepared and think that teams like that can perform well. I just see over the total picture here, I see Colorado being the better team, and I have Colorado beating Georgetown.
All right. Coach Crampsie, what are your thoughts? Are you drinking the Georgetown Kool-Aid?
No, I'm not actually. And I love what Coach Ewing's doing. I think it's very impressive, but I agree, Coach Bill. I think Colorado's really good. Their point guard is a complete stud, and their point guard is probably one of the reasons why Indiana just lost their basketball coach, because he was an Indiana recruit that they couldn't hang on to, and he ended up in Colorado. And I think they're very good. I think we don't hear as much about them because we're on the East Coast, and I think Colorado takes that first one.
Emmett, are you going to make this entertaining, or are you with the majority here?
No, I'm with the majority. I had Colorado in my pool, and I said I thought all 12 seeds had a chance to win, but of the 4 of them, I think Georgetown I would rank as the 4th best chance to pull the 12-5 upset. So I've got Colorado as well.
There you go, folks. Lock Georgetown in, because if we're batting 1,000 here. Georgetown by 15 probably at this point. All right, we'll bounce over to the last region here for time purposes, and if you guys have any other thoughts, feel free to backtrack. But Illinois, great season. You got Houston as the 2. Houston, where a lot of people are just screaming that they don't play anybody, and I tell you what, the American Conference is all right, and they have a lot of impressive defensive metrics. They play slow. They're like a grinding Schuylkill League hold the ball kind of team, and
not Panther Valley in the Schuylkill League.
No,
no, it's not all Schuylkill League.
Tread carefully. You got a
There's at least
TV
a
coach,
couple of teams that go up and down.
Anyway, McCall, since you're so anxious to jump in here, talk to me about this region. And what are your initial thoughts here?
I like Illinois a lot. I have them winning the region. Playing Drexel, we gave a little local shout out to Drexel, first time in 25 years tourney, but they roll through that, and I have them winning it all. I have them playing West Virginia in the Elite 8 round. I like West Virginia. I think they could beat Illinois. Shout out to my niece Amanda, West Virginia grad. But I did take Illinois to win the region. I think the 8-9 game, Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech is interesting. I think that's going to have a lot of appeal to the fans. But yeah, overall, I like Illinois to win that region.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree completely. I think it's a good call. It's chalky. It's not fun, Emmett. You're not fun, so we'll pass it along to Coach Miller. See if he's going to be bored with Illinois too, but rightfully so. What do you think about this region, Coach Miller? Sorry, on you.
Sorry, I missed that one. Yeah, so I have Illinois here, but there's some interesting games that I really like. Oklahoma State being, obviously the kind of flashy pick here, obviously with the best player in the country, at least NBA prospect wise, Cade Cunningham. We've seen players be able to take teams to the next level in this tournament, and he's probably the most special in terms of that. Loyola Chicago, like Emmett said, is that Georgia Tech game is an attractive one because of all the fanfare around it. The one team I do like here is Rutgers. Rutgers and Ron Harper Jr. That maybe could knock off a Clemson team and potentially give Houston a game there in the round of 32. But I also like Syracuse beating San Diego State. I think that Boeheim will have those guys ready to go. And his son is one of the top players in the country as well. But I have Illinois and West Virginia in the Elite Eight, and I do see Illinois beating them. I think Illinois is the second best team in this 68-team field from what I've seen. And I think they kind of have everything as well, very similar to Gonzaga.
All right, Hurley, what do you got for me?
So let's go right to the
Carrier
orange.
Dome behind
Right
you.
to the orange. I have the orange going to the Sweet 16 in a lot of my brackets. I know, Emmett, you like West Virginia, but the Cuse are a tough matchup. It seems like the higher seed they are the last couple of years, the tougher out they are because of the way they play. They've kind of turned themselves into a three-point shooting team now over the last couple of years, and they got a lot of shooters on that team. The guys that just throw it up there and it goes down. You got Griffin, you got Buddy Boeheim, who's having a really good year. You got Guerri, however you say that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hear different people pronounce it differently. And obviously the defense is always tough to prepare for. So I have them going to the Sweet 16. I really like Houston. I think Grimes is a really good player for Houston. I think people are sleeping on them. I think they could make a big-time run in this. But this is all about the Illini for me. I have been able to watch some Big Ten basketball this year. That's the most I've watched out of anybody. So I'm a little biased to that because I've been able to watch some of those games. And I really like the way they play, man. They're a really good team. They got some scorers. They play defense. And I think they're going to win the whole tournament. If you asked me who I think was going to win it, I would go with the Fighting Illini. I know it's not going out on a limb or anything, but I just think they are playing some good basketball, and I don't see anybody really in this bracket that they're in down below here that could challenge them. I said, except for if Houston gets hot, because they can play. I mean, this is the most. Think about this is the last. The Houston team hasn't had this much on their plate or this many expectations since Phi Gamma Jamma or Phi Gamma Jamma or however it was.
Slamma Jamma.
That was back in your day there with Olajuwon and
black and white TV. Yep.
Ralph Sampson and all those guys, right? So, yeah, I really like Houston. So don't be surprised if Houston gets all the way to the Elite Eight and challenges Illinois. But I like Illinois.
Coach Crampsie, what's up?
I think back to when I was a kid, Danny Manning and Kansas. As I got older, Derrick Rose and Memphis, Kemba Walker and UConn. And I think this year it's going to be Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State. I think he's, like Coach Miller said, he's the best player in the tournament. And as good as Illinois is playing, I think the best player in the tournament is going to play his best in the tournament. I think Cade Cunningham leads the Cowboys to the championship game. I have them come out of the Midwest and beating Baylor to get to the national championship. I think
nice.
I think he's hitting his stride, and I think as a team they're playing their best right now. So that's where I went. That's where I went a little left with my bracket, and tried to mix it up a bit. And I'll mix it up by taking the best player in the tournament.
I might have to now I got to do a seventh bracket and take Oklahoma State to go to the championship.
I also have the Cowboys in my Final Four. I was really conflicted with I think this was my hardest decision, but I like OK State. I like Cunningham. They got a little bit of a tough path to do the job, but I like it. Hurley, I really like Houston, and listen to these defensive numbers. They're top 20 in the nation in adjusted defensive efficiency, effective field goal percentage, defensive 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage, block percentage, and steal percentage. So I don't know if Cleveland State's going to score in the opening round here. Houston plays so slow. The under is just screaming at me here, So I think Houston is one of those teams. Again, nobody here talks about them. They're not a common, powerhouse name in the last 10, 15 years. And I think they're a good contrarian look for a lot of pools by me, because I think you'll be in the minority if you have them in your Final Four, championship game if you want to get crazy. I like this Loyola Georgia Tech matchup. I think a battle of two good centers. Cameron Krutwig is a beast, and then Moses Wright for Georgia Tech. They're both 6'9". They're both top 20 in offensive rating in the country. This game's going to be played in the post quite a bit. And it is Loyola Chicago, who has the #1 adjusted defensive rating in the country, surprisingly. Weak schedule, but that's what the adjusted rating is all about. And I'm interested in this 8-9 game. So, just closing thoughts. I'll go around the horn here. Give me your Final Four and your winner of the championship game, and then anything else, any favorite bets going into the weekend, or any hot takes, whatever you want to say before we get out of here. We'll give it to you first, McCall. I know you've had a lot to say tonight, so let's hear it.
Sure. Final Four, I have Gonzaga, Alabama, Illinois, and Ohio State. I have Gonzaga and Illinois in the final, and I have Gonzaga winning it all. Another note I came up with, this was a pretty well-known one. The last time Duke and Kentucky weren't in the NCAA tournament in the same year was 1976, and that's the year Indiana won it with an unbeaten record. Last time that has happened, and I think Gonzaga repeats that this year.
Good stuff. Coach Miller, it's on you.
So I have Gonzaga playing Alabama, and I have Gonzaga winning that one, going to the national championship game. I have Baylor playing Illinois, and Illinois getting to the national championship game. So I have a Gonzaga-Illinois national championship game, and I have Gonzaga winning the entire thing. One of the unique things I think about this year is I think that we will not see as many upsets as we have in the past. I think that you will see one 5-12 upset, and that's the only one I think we see from the 5-12s we're used to seeing maybe 2 or 3. I think we see one. And I think that we see a lot more chalk this year than usual.
Good stuff. All right. Brad Hurley, I know you're in 500 brackets, so what's your favorite Final Four calculation?
All right, so my favorite Final Four calculation is going to be Gonzaga, Alabama, Baylor, and Illinois. So three #1 seeds there, but I agree with Trevor. I think you're going to see the cream rise to the top here in this tournament. I think the elite level talented teams are going to have the best chance to get there. Just with how everything turned out, I think there's going to be less upsets, but I also want to give 4 locks in that first round that aren't obvious 1, 2, 3 seed things. So give me 1 second.
Oh boy.
Yes, I'm going to give you 4.
Let me take notes here.
Let me give you 4 locks. That Missouri, that 9-8 game, take Missouri in that game. That's going to be a lock. I'm telling you, the Tigers they're going to come out ready to go. I would also tell you that I like Maryland over UConn. I know Coach Crampsie said he loves UConn, but SVP convinced me that Maryland is going to win that game. So I like that game.
I like
As a
Maryland
lock.
too.
He called you up and was telling you that, Brad?
I have this thing called a television, Emmett. I don't know if you still listen to the radio. I know you're getting up there. Also, another lock here, which I really, really like, and I think is going to be something that a lot of people are up in the air about, is I like the North Carolina over Wisconsin. Everything I've been reading is it's kind of 50-50 so far, especially on ESPN. When you look on there, it tells you how people are picking their brackets, and it's pretty even there so far. And I'll give you one more, and that is Clemson and Rutgers. I am on the opposite side of Trevor on that. I like the Tigers in this game. They have a lot of guys that can score. So I like Clemson. I just hate Rutgers and everything. I don't know why. I just never liked Rutgers.
You're a Penn State guy, of course. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It
had something to do with that.
Penn State don't care about
Penn
State doesn't care about Rutgers. So.
That was still a fumble, Brad. I agree with you.
Coach Crampsie, let's your final outcome here and any closing thoughts.
I have Gonzaga coming out of the West. I have Michigan beating Texas in the East. I have Baylor over Texas Tech in the South. So I guess if I have something a little goofy there in the South, it would be Texas Tech making the Elite Eight. And then I have Oklahoma State over Houston in the Midwest. Like I said, I love Oklahoma State. I love the way Cade Cunningham's playing right now. I have Oklahoma State over Baylor. I have Gonzaga over Michigan, and then Gonzaga beating Oklahoma State in the championship. If I'm going to pick one out there upset in the first round, like I said, I'm going to pick Eastern Washington over Kansas. I know everybody looks at those 5-12s. I know Ohio's a pretty sexy pick right now, so I'll go a little there out in left field, and that would be my first round upset. But with all that being said, I haven't had much luck lately with the bracket, so who the heck knows?
For me, I have Gonzaga and Texas, and I have Gonzaga over Texas. On the other side, I have Baylor and Oklahoma State, and I have Baylor. Then I have Gonzaga over Baylor in the championship. One other note I have, I know we were talking some early upsets and things like that. I do like UCal Santa Barbara. They're getting 7, and Creighton shoots 64% from the line. So I kind of like getting 7 points against a team where there's going to be some fouling at the end there, and Creighton just doesn't shoot well from the line. I know poor foul shooting bothers the heck out of a lot of you guys on the Zoom right now, probably. And that makes a huge difference, especially with how good Vegas is, man. Vegas always wins. But we'll definitely take notes of Hurley's locks, and we'll keep track of them throughout the weekend. And
of course.
Make sure you're posting them. Make sure you're posting them daily.
All right, guys.
Hey, Pat, I'm sure I'll see you this weekend sometime, pal. I can't wait.
Yes, you will.
Anything else before we get out of here? Emmett, what's going on in the sports department for the Times News? Any closing thoughts, or what's coming up?
Closing up, what's up high school sports-wise? We have PIAA championships are Friday. It's the last winter sport going on. Wrestling for Times News area teams. Basketball is finished. Wrestling is finished. Maddie Dando of Marion is in the 100 backstroke on Friday. And then spring sports previews start on Monday. We have lacrosse and all the rest, track, baseball, softball following all next week.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you guys for joining. It's going to be a great tournament. And thanks to all the listeners. Go grab your Times News and check out all the good stuff that our sports department and our paper as a whole has coming out. So for Emmett McCall, Trevor Miller, Brad Hurley, Pat Crampsie, I'm Justin Carlucci. Have fun and enjoy